Welcome to Listener Feedback, episode 34. And in this episode will be starring Crimson Phoenix. Thank you for writing in, my good brother. It is greatly appreciated. But he is not alone, because also writing in this week is Glove Box Gaming. Yes, sir. Thank you, brothers. I truly appreciate you guys for writing in. But also on this episode, we will discuss NCAA football being a no-show. We get some interesting Switch 2 specs that don't look as promising as I hoped. And we get some positive Halo news. And we'll talk about what head of Nacon Publishing believes is hurting the game industry. Again, welcome to the show. Greatly appreciate you guys being here. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the first email for this week. So the first email comes to us from, once again, Crimson Phoenix, who writes in with the title, Where Sony At? Where they at? That's what this good brother wants to know. So his email reads, Xbox, Hellblade 2, OD or Overdose, Blade, Sony, God of War DLC. Golly, this brother is definitely throwing shots out here. Now he continues to say, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the GTAs and the above announcements. And is it time for us who haven't yet to get an Xbox? Because in my opinion, they're about to be hitting on all cylinders. Brother, I want to thank you for this email. And let me tell you, later on next week, it's going to get serious. So we're going to go over it on Sunday. We're not going to go over it on this show, but it's going to be real critical. Next week is going to show us a lot of amazing things that Microsoft has coming up. But for me, Crimson Phoenix, I will say, for me personally, I think that we have to be on a wait and see basis. Now, based off of how things go next week, I don't know. That could make a huge splash and actually make me possibly speed up my decision a little sooner than I was expecting. I mean, if some of these games that they're supposed to show next week come out and look amazing, they look next gen, they look like they're using the power of the Series X the way that we all want them to be doing at this moment in time, going into year 3, then I think it would be a great conversation to have, because that is the missing piece for Microsoft right now. They have all of the IPs that anybody would want that has a console. They have some of the biggest, most recognizable IPs underneath their umbrella, Crimson Phoenix. They own Call of Duty. They own Elder Scroll. They own Fallout. They own Wolfenstein. They own Doom. All of these IPs, Spyro the Dragon, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, they have so many iconic IPs underneath their umbrella or underneath their company that this should be a win-win no matter what time of year it is. These guys should be hitting on all cylinders already, but yet they have stalled time and time again. And then earlier this week, Crimson Phoenix, I know you heard about it. We all heard the rumors that Hi-Fi Rush is going to Nintendo Switch, that Sea of Thieves is going to PlayStation. And of course, again, putting the caveat out there. These are all rumors. Nothing has been confirmed at all. Microsoft has not said a word, but to me, that is a bit alarming when you don't speak on things that are this serious, in my opinion. To me, this is why when you see a game like Blade, that actually is a phenomenal announcement, Crimson Phoenix, at the Game Awards. I thought the Game Awards were very well done. I know I went over it in one of the episodes of the podcast, but I thought they had some amazing announcements, and Blade being one of the bigger ones. But when they left out of that show, Crimson Phoenix, everybody had the same question. Is this game exclusive, or is it coming to other consoles outside of, well, I should say platforms outside of PC? Is it going to PlayStation? Is it going to Nintendo? And them not showing just a simple Xbox exclusive tag in that video, it leads people to believe that maybe it is not exclusive. And then we get these messages like I was talking about just a couple of seconds ago, Crimson Phoenix. We hear that they're going to be having Hi-Fi Rush come on the Nintendo Switch. I'm like, man, good grief. This is why Xbox is in the situation that they are in right now. They keep on muddling and messing up their messaging so much to the point where people are just falling back and saying, hey, this might come on my console of choice. So I don't see a need to get the Xbox right now because possibly, who knows, Hellblade 2 might be on PlayStation. Blade might end up on PlayStation, but we never question these other companies like Sony and Nintendo if their games are going to other platforms outside of PC. And even with Nintendo, you don't even get that. The closest thing we've got to Nintendo releasing anything that has to do with any of their IPs is on mobile phones and tablets. That's about all you get from them. So I just want Microsoft to have the same messaging, Crimson Phoenix. I want them to be as, how could I say, man? I want them to be as detailed as they need to be. I mean, Phil Spencer has flip-flopped on so many different things in such a short period of time, Crimson Phoenix. He was talking about, the Bethesda games just on a case-by-case basis. We don't know. It's all about exclusives and things of that nature. Just Phil, the only thing my biggest gripe with Phil Spencer is I just don't want you to continue to have this good guy image. This is business at the end of the day. I know you guys got to make your money. I understand that. But Phil, you said that games would only be coming to platforms that have Game Pass. Am I right or wrong with that? That is what Phil Spencer told us at one point in time. Their games would appear on platforms that have Game Pass. And last time I checked, neither does Nintendo nor PlayStation have Game Pass on their platform. But yet we're getting these rumors. And again, let's stress that they are rumors that you're letting Hi-Fi Rush go as well as Sea of Thieves. So with all of those caveats, Crimson Phoenix, again, brother, I am in a wait and see list. That's where I'm at. I'm in that boat, the wait and see list of whether or not you should go out or people should go out and get an Xbox. Now, granted, this can all change, Crimson Phoenix, next week on the 18th, if I'm not mistaken, when they're going to be having their show. And it should be unbelievable. But for now, I am in the boat. Just wait. Sit back, wait, and see what they do. It also interests me too, Crimson Phoenix, that some people have such loyalty to Xbox, or to PlayStation or to Nintendo, that they would rob themselves of amazing gaming experiences because they want to stay loyal to a brand. Are you kidding me? It blows my whole entire mind as a gamer, as a person who loves the culture. I have never understood, of course, if money isn't an issue, I've never understood why people get one console and say, I'm going to stick with this. Even though PlayStation has Spider-Man, they got God of War, they got Uncharted, they got The Last of Us, you know, they got, what's the last game that Sucker Punch came out with? I can't remember the name of it, but they got all of these games. They got VR, all of this cool stuff, but I'm staying with Xbox. I'm going to suffer over here on the Xbox brand. I'm saying to myself, why can't you get both? Why not get both? Enjoy the PlayStation and wait until Xbox gets their stuff together, but don't suffer in silence. Play these games, doggone it. Play the games. I never understand that. Why? What kind of loyalty are these companies paying you? No. If you have a light bill due, if you have a mortgage payment due, they are not coming to rescue you. Phil Spencer is not going to show up at your door and pay your mortgage statement for that month. He's not going to do it. I just don't understand why people have such a blind, well, it seems like it's blind. Maybe it's not. But just have this crazy loyalty to these companies. It could never be me. That's why when I say it's not about the consoles, it's about the games, I really, truly mean that. I own everything. I mean, I say that, you know, with respect. I'm not saying it like everybody can do that. I'm not saying it's that easy. But like I said at the beginning, if money isn't an issue of you buying multiple consoles, then why not do it? Just don't understand. Maybe you guys could give me a little bit of inside feedback on that as well. Why do you think people stay so loyal to one console when gaming spans several different platforms? I mean, even to your mobile phone. You know, I just will never understand that. But Crimson Phoenix, I greatly appreciate this email, my brother, and I'm going to jump into your next email. So the next email that you wrote in with Crimson Phoenix is titled Clickbait, where you say Xbox is letting the speculation run rampant on Blade exclusive. Crimson Phoenix. This is my brother right here. God, dog. Let me continue this, man. I'm going to start it over. He says, Xbox is letting the speculation run rampant on Blade exclusivity, smart free advertising, and in every conversation about Blade is the only thing everyone knows for sure is that it's coming to Xbox. On the messaging question, it doesn't really matter what Xbox says. People are still going to poke and prod and find loopholes or misread what's being said. Now, Crimson Phoenix, you know you my guy, brother. I got a lot of love for you, man. But I have to disagree with you wholeheartedly on this one, my brother. I am telling you, man, it means everything. Messaging is everything, Crimson Phoenix. Well, what was his name, man? Don Matra got fired over messaging, where he said, I got a console for you. It's Xbox 360. You know, if you don't want to be connected to the internet, 24/7, not 24/7, but every 24 hours, having to check in. That joker lost his J.O.B. off of that. That was messaging. Phil Spencer continues to find himself in the line of fire because of messaging. I don't agree, Crimson Phoenix, that this is good advertisement or great publicity, because it is still not giving people the answer that they want. It could be somebody. Now, this is an extreme case, Crimson Phoenix. I'm not saying that this really is a scenario, but let's just go there for the sake of this conversation. Let's say that you have somebody that is a huge Blade fan. They've been a fan of the comic books, fan of the Wesley Snipes movies. They have just been a A1 fan. And this game right here, Blade, this game right here appears at the Game Awards. This person is excited, Crimson Phoenix. Oh my goodness, Blade is coming to Xbox. This is incredible. But then that one thing does not show up, which I mentioned a little earlier. It doesn't say exclusively on Xbox. It will always, with that, Crimson Phoenix, and like I said, that's a very unlikely scenario, but I'm just saying, just for the sake of conversation, you know how it goes, Crimson Phoenix. People talk online, and of course, Twitter is not the whole gaming community. It is a very, very small, minuscule piece to the gaming community. I mean, it's tens of thousands of people on there, but when you think about gaming reaching tens of millions of people that don't even know about these exclusivity deals, and, who didn't even know that. And this is how you know the mass public is not so aware of these deals, because the marketing that Sony had with Hogwarts Legacy, it sold so many copies on PlayStation because they had the marketing rights, and people only thought it was available on PlayStation because of the marketing rights. Now, granted, I might have just pinned myself in the corner there, Crimson Phoenix, where you'll have Microsoft out there, championing. I can never get that word right. They'll be behind Blade, pushing it, saying it's on Xbox and things of that nature. Now, that could definitely shift the tide. But again, it's the messaging, man. It's the messaging. Phil Spencer, he cannot be trusted. He can't be trusted. And I always want to put this out there, I'm only judging Phil Spencer on his position at Xbox. I'm not judging that gentleman in his personal endeavors with his family, with his friends, with anything that's off the script outside of Xbox. That's none of my business. It's none of my affair. I'm only judging Phil Spencer off of his position at Xbox. And right now, he is not trustworthy as far as I'm concerned. He'll say one thing, spin back around and say another. We're still waiting for him to make up for Street Fighter V being exclusive on PlayStation. We still didn't get a Killer Instinct. He didn't get an exclusive fighting game on his platform. He says that exclusives are important, but yet we're getting word now that certain games might be going to the competition. It's like he says one thing, then we had the CFO or whoever he was talking to other banks, telling them that, hey, things have changed. We will probably be putting out. No, he didn't even say probably. He said they would be putting their games on what were once rival consoles or rival platforms. Their games will be appearing on them. But yet you have Phil Spencer saying, no, exclusivity is very important. And, we take pride in that. And that's something that we want to give our customers to make sure that our customers feel like they are being put first. Really, Phil? Really? I don't feel that way. I'm not even an Xbox customer anymore. And I don't feel that way. When I was an Xbox customer, Crimson Phoenix, I never felt like I was totally respected with Phil Spencer in office. I mean, you go to PC, all of a sudden games are showing up on PC. They don't have to pay for Xbox Live. We do. They get to just play free online. We don't. And I get it. It's a different platform. Completely different. That wouldn't fly over on PC. I understand that. I understand the rules, but still doesn't make me feel much better that this platform is getting the same games that I'm paying for day and date, and they don't have to pay for online. That's like a double whammy right there. You know, having games exclusive on the PC that weren't exclusive on the console. PC is getting games first. Xbox is having to wait. Xbox gets games on that platform. PC is getting the games on their platform day and date. So it was always a off balance to me where I felt like, man, as an Xbox owner, an Xbox fan, an Xbox supporter, I always felt like, man, I'm kind of getting the short end of the stick right now. You know, so with this Blade situation, man, I don't see anything good with this, Crimson Phoenix. I don't think that it's anything positive coming out of this outside of the fact that it is a Blade game that is coming to Xbox. But how much is it to ask, Crimson Phoenix? Did they just tell us if it's exclusive or not? Because the longer you wait to drop that news, the worse it's going to be. You remember what happened with, what is the game? Redfall. You saw what happened with that, Crimson Phoenix, when it was rumors going around, oh, the game isn't even going to run at 60 frames per second. It's going to be 30 frames. I mean, of course, that game had a ton more problems than just a frame rate. But when people found out about it after those rumblings were going on, it was way worse than what it could have been if they had just come out. Excuse me, Crimson Phoenix. Excuse me, guys. If they had just come out and said, look, the game is going to be 30 frames per second. We're working on it. Don't worry. We're going to get to it. If they had said it from the jump, it would have even been different. Nothing was going to save that game, by the way, Crimson Phoenix. I think we can all agree with that. No matter what they did, it was a bad game at its core. Nothing was going to save it. But again, it comes back to the messaging. The messaging is everything. Even when the Xbox One was being released, it was the messaging that killed them. Yeah, Don Matrick, he said his ridiculous comment, but that whole week during E3, when people were asking them about the DRM and asking them about the every 24 hour, check-in that needed to be done, it was several different stories going on. And these are from the people that work for Xbox. Nobody was on the same page with the messaging. So this has been a problem for Xbox for at least 10 years. They've been dealing with this. Phil Spencer took over in 2014. The Xbox One released in 2013. So this has been something going on for this year, 10 years. Actually, it's been over 10 years because it started before the console even launched. So almost 11 years they've been dealing with this messaging problem. So yeah, I just don't see anything positive about it, Crimson Phoenix, but I beat this subject to death. I truly appreciate you though, brother. I mean, just because we disagree don't mean that we can't agree to be friends still, brother. I always appreciate it when you write in, and it is always appreciated, man. Please don't let it be your last time, Crimson Phoenix. I always love hearing from you, brother. But up next, finally rounding us out, is Glove Box Gaming, this brother right here. Oh, man, this brother's amazing. But the title of his email is, "What's good, brother?" Man, I'm hanging and maintaining, my brother. Now he says, "Man, Keon, what's happening? Bro, I hope you and your family had an awesome Christmas and a fantastic New Year." Oh, man, we still breathing, so it's all lovely, my brother. He says, "I just wanted to hit you up and let you know I thoroughly enjoyed you and your wife blessing my Christmas party." Oh, man, we appreciated you blessing us to be able to be there, my brother. He says, "You don't even know how much, I was looking forward to you guys showing up." Oh, man, that's very kind of you, brother. He says, "Thanks for all the kind words you had for me on the podcast. And by the way, you can mention me and my setup whenever you want." He says, "I'm so glad I was able to finally put you in some VR and get a quick dose of all its glory." Let me tell y'all something, man, before I finish up this good brother's email. Yeah, man, listen, man, I have seen, man, I've seen a few setups, a couple of gaming setups, but I got to tell you, I ain't never seen nothing like good brother Crimson Phoenix's setup. Crimson Phoenix had thunder and lightning on the ceiling, man. Oh, man. Got to give you a round of applause, brother. God, dog. Man, this brother's setup was incredible. I mean, he had all kinds of amazing memorabilia around his house. It was absolutely phenomenal, man. He put me in the VR. I said, God, dog, he put me in Gran Turismo. It was so amazing. But hold on, Glovebox. Let me finish up your email here, brother. He says, "I just wanted to hit you up and say, keep up the good quality work you're doing on the podcast. And whenever you and wifey want to get together, I'm only a phone call away. Peace, bro." Man, let me tell you something, brother. I really had a blast at your establishment, my brother. We had a phenomenal time. I mean, this man, look, I ain't gonna talk about brother stuff too much, but I will say, man, it was a gamer's paradise in that place. God, dog. I'd had so much fun just looking around at what this brother was able to do in his house. It was absolutely incredible. I was looking around trying to get ideas. I'm like, oh man, that is fire. I'm telling you, when you walk in to this brother's setup, he got his ceiling. It looks like it's thunder and lightning. It looks like clouds are literally on his ceiling, like you are outside. It was, man, I ain't gonna give away too much of your stuff, Glovebox, but it was amazing. Please do me a favor, sub to this good brother's YouTube channel, Glovebox Gaming. He has fantastic content. Man, his giveaways are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So make sure you go over there and sub to his channel. But again, to you, Crimson Phoenix, and to you, Glovebox Gaming, again, brothers, I truly thank you guys for writing in this week. Thank y'all. Now, of course, if you guys do want to be a part of the next episode of Listener Feedback, you can do it two different ways. You can either call in, and the phone number is, of course, 443-380-0281, and let your voice be heard. Or you can email the show, and the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. So I didn't want this show to just be a half an hour. You guys have tuned in, and I appreciate that. And since it was Crimson Phoenix and Glovebox Gaming, they were the only two that wrote in. gave me a little bit of time to cover some gaming news. So this week, some of the gaming news that is happening right now is, for any of you guys that are, and I mentioned this earlier in the episode on Sunday, but for any of you guys that are interested in checking out the Prince of Persia Lost Crown demo, it's going to release. Actually, it's released already. Cause I'm recording this at 1:42 a.m. God dog, I got to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Man, what the heck am I doing? That time flew. Pardon me. Darn. I ain't gonna lie, man. I didn't know it was that late. All right. Man, what the heck was I talking about? Okay. Prince of Persia, Lost Crown demo. It's going to be releasing at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time's already done that. 9 a.m. Pacific time and 5 p.m. UTC time. So if that was something you guys were interested in, by the time y'all hear this, it'll probably be available at least on the West Coast. NCAA football. Now, this was something that we had covered also on Sunday's show. NCAA football, it was supposed to have been an announcement from EA, and it did not happen. But I was actually able to find a clip that actually goes into this a little bit more. I got this from the YouTube channel Late Kick with Josh Pate. So let's listen to this clip together.
The guided word on the street is maybe this was calculated. Now, Marcelo has come out today and he said, I was not wrong about this last night. I believe him. I believe he had good knowledge and intel that EA Sports was planning to do something, and then all of a sudden they didn't do it. Now, what Marcelo can't know, well, at least if he knows, he hasn't told me, but what the streets are saying is maybe this was a classic calculated bait and switch. And if it was, it's brilliant. They got millions of dollars of free marketing last night. And if it wasn't, you guys need to just pretend like it was, because it makes you look really shrewd. Then when you actually do drop your big announcement, you get the double dip. You got it for free last night. You'll eventually, I assume, pay for it. And look, all's well that ends well, guys. My intel from Jesse is that it's still on pace for a summer 2024 release, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, so was this a setup by EA? I mean, he brings up a great point. They got a ton of publicity off of this. EA, that is, with NCAA football. I'm sure with this, they were able to gauge what the interest was going to be in the game, you know, as far as it returning. So could this have been just a situation of, or matter of fact, just to switch it a little bit, or was it a situation of EA did plan to do something like he mentioned, but at the last minute they canceled and said, we'll hold off on that. But either way, he definitely left us with some positive news. And it was something that I had also talked about on Sunday, was this game is supposed to be releasing in the summer. So hopefully in the summer months, well, I would hope way before the summer months, we will get some kind of announcement of this happening. But I just found it very interesting that this was going around to, you know, with all of the different sports channels. And by the way, the guy Late Kick with Josh Pate, if you are interested in college football, he's definitely a good source for that, if that's something that you follow. So just getting back to the point, could it have been a situation where EA, this is what they plan to do? Or, you know, did things just fall through? And they said, well, you know, hey, we'll try to catch them the next time. Either way, hopefully EA in the very, very near future will be letting us know something about NCAA football and when it's possibly going to be returning. We shall see. But let's go ahead and get into, you know, a little bit of Switch news. So I have some Switch specs here that were allegedly revealed by Taiwan's Twisted Voxel. Twisted Voxel was actually the source. So some of these specs is coming from Taiwan's Economic Daily, which reported that the hybrid, the Switch 2 that is, will have a NVIDIA T39 processor. I don't know what that is, but this is where it gets a little concerning for me on both of these fronts. It's going to have 8 gigabytes of memory and a 64 gigabyte internal storage. God dang, let's do some research here for a minute. Hold on. I want to do something in real time just to see where we are. How many gigabytes does Xbox Series S have?
512 gigabytes, according to the New York Times. Base storage, while the Series 10 includes a 1 terabyte storage drive, which offers about 800...
I got you. How many gigabytes of memory does Xbox Series S have?
According to Best Buy, Xbox Series S specs, 10 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabyte storage drive or 1 terabyte storage drive, depending on the model.
Yeah, so God dog. Once again, if these specs are correct, it is not going to be even close to as powerful as a Xbox Series S. Shucks. And that's running at 1440p. Now, the other thing that is very interesting here to me as well is the 64 gigabytes of internal hard drive space. I mean, it's games today that literally take 64 gigabytes to download. So that makes me believe, if these specs are true, that these games aren't going to be much better than what we've already been getting on the Switch, as it were. 8 gigabytes of memory in 2024? Oh, man. I was hoping for a little bit better, but again, these specs are alleged. Again, I got this story because I love to cite my sources. I got it from Twisted Voxel, and they picked the story up by Taiwan's Economic Daily. They're the ones that are reporting on these specs. But that's not where the specs ended. It was also being reported by Taiwan Economic Daily that the screen display is going to be 120 hertz, and the battery will be greatly improved. Now, with the screen being 120 hertz, it leads to the speculation that some games will be targeting 120 frames per second. Now, that is awesome. That is fantastic. But with 8 gigs of memory, how graphically impressive are these games going to be that are running at 120 frames per second? How amazing are they going to look? I don't know. I really have no idea. The other thing that they were reporting, again, this is Taiwan Economic Daily. They also said that this console is going to release in the second half of this year. So I guess anywhere, between July and December, this console will release. So little different, not very different, but a little different of a strategy for Nintendo that launched the Switch back in March. So it looks like this time they're probably going for a more traditional launch, probably because they feel like they'll be able to stand up in that market now that the Switch has been so successful for them. I'm sure that's built up their confidence, and they feel like they can go head to head with the big guys, with Sony and with Microsoft. And of course, with these specs, I mean, look, listen, we all know Nintendo was off doing their own thing. But dag, I was really hoping for a little bit more than this. I mean, they also said in that report that they're also hearing that the Switch 2 is going to be $400. $400. This is the second report that we've got on this. Seems like this $400 is something that is standing firm thus far, which again is a bit of a red flag for me, knowing that you are not even as powerful, again, if these specs are true, that you're not even as powerful as an Xbox Series S that's offering 512 gigabytes of hard drive space, by the way, and 10 gigs of memory, which I'm sure by that time, by December or November of this year, I'm sure the S will probably be on sale for like $200. So, God, dog, I just not feeling as excited. I mean, of course, things can change. You know, if they have some great games that show off extremely well, like the new Mario game that's supposed to be in development that is 3D, I mean, it can change everything, but I just don't know how graphically impressive things are going to be on 8 gigabytes of memory in 2024. That's my only concern. But let's get into the next story, which I also got yet again from Twisted Voxel. So we get a bit of promising news about Halo. So according to the LinkedIn profiles of Ian Slutz, that's their name, SLUTZ, Slutz, who is a senior character systems designer at 343 Industries, and Justin Dinges, who was a former art director who also worked at 343, revealed that the next Halo has been in development since at least April of 2022 using Unreal Engine 5. God, dog. This is what I love to hear. Unreal Engine 5. Man, that is huge to me. And, you know, just for context, Halo Infinite released December 8th, 2021. So they jumped right back into development. So I'm sure that this game is going to be a ways off, but I do absolutely love the fact, and I applaud them for getting away from the Slip Space engine and going to Unreal Engine 5, because that was one of the bigger problems with Halo Infinite. That Slip Space engine, from what we heard from reports, was very difficult for developers to really get not their imagination, but to get their ideas out on. It was very difficult, and there was reports that were being said that Unreal Engine would be such a more, well, that doesn't make sense. It would be a much more, it would be a better experience for them. It's easier to code on Unreal Engine 5. It's just easier to work with. So knowing that this is the engine that they're working on and that the game has been in development for almost 2 years, April of this year will be 2 years that this game has been in development. I think that this is fantastic news. I'm sure we won't see anything from Halo for at least another 2 or so years. But again, just the fact that they've started on a new Halo and it's in Unreal Engine 5 gives me a lot of hope for the future of Master Chief. But let's get into the last story this week. So now this was from Game Industry Biz. I actually got this story from. So Game Industry Biz actually sat down with Nacon, head of publishing. His name is Benoit Clerc, who was behind the publishing, of course, of RoboCop, Nacon, that is. They started talking about the state of the industry and the hardships. And Benoit pointed to one thing. He said the problem pretty much, and this article was very, very long. This is like almost a 30-minute read. It was extremely long, but he pointed to one of the biggest problems with the industry being, quote, there are too many games currently on the market, end of quote. Now, what I would like to know is, do you guys agree or disagree with that there are too many games on the market? And I would say I kind of do agree with that, because now, of course, I'm speaking from a 45-year-old male's perspective of, having responsibilities, having to go to work. Of course, I'm a truck driver. So, I'm just speaking from that perspective. And not everybody is going to have the same perspective. But to me, I do believe that there are way too many games on the market. I remember, and this is just, hopefully it'll come full circle with this. But growing up in the 90s, when you had Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, TurboGrafx, it kind of fell off, but you had 3DO out there. It didn't really take off. It was very expensive. So we'll just use, Sega and Nintendo. There were very few AAA games that came out per year at that time in the 90s. So when a game like Star Fox released, it was gigantic. It was amazing. It was like, oh my gosh, I have to have this game, Star Fox. I need it. I mean, everybody's talking about it at school. It's in all of the Nintendo Power magazines. It's like, man, these kind of games don't come around every day, so I have to have it. It's incredible. I mean, even when games like Street Fighter 2 had came out on the Super Nintendo, it was a big deal because Street Fighter was such a big fighting game back then in the arcade, and actually being able to get it at home and it be pretty much arcade perfect. It was amazing. Even when Sonic the Hedgehog released, it was a huge game. Super Mario Brothers 3, God dog, forget it. It was in the movie The Wizard, and I was dying to play it when I saw it. I rewound that clip. How many of y'all remember The Wizard? First off, God dog, man, shout out to Fred Savage, man. Awesome childhood memory right there. Oh, The Wizard. God dog, one of the first gaming movies I had ever seen. Oh, man, it was amazing. That Power Glove, there was a ton of cap going on, wasn't it? Oh, my gosh. But getting to the point, though, having games like Super Mario Brothers 3 release, it was like the world stopped. Like, I mean, for a gamer, of course. I mean, adults ain't give a doggone, but, it was a huge deal. Y'all remember that commercial? Mario, man, well, he was like on the globe of the world and whatnot. Oh, man, God, dog, I'm just going down memory lane. But we don't get that all the time. Now, that is shifted. It's like Grand Theft Auto is that now. Whenever it's a new Grand Theft Auto, it stops the world. It's like, oh my gosh, this is the big game. But guess what the difference is? Grand Theft Auto does not come out every other year. By the time it's said and done, we would have waited 12 years for the next GTA. And of course, I understand Rockstar is special. They're an anomaly. I get that. But I am of a firm belief that if you have a great IP, you don't need to release it every single year. I understand it's a business. You gotta make money. I understand. It's a very, how can I say it? It's a very hard, it's a tightrope act, to walk that, because you need the money to keep on investing into other games, but you don't want to run the IP into the ground either. So it's a very balanced act that you have to do. But I do believe that if they just slow down on games, just give some games time to breathe, that it would be much better. The gaming space would be much better because people could actually finish their games. Backlogs are stupid crazy right now. I guarantee everybody has a backlog. And if you're on Game Pass, forget life. Forget about it. Your backlog is 400 games deep at that point. So I do think that could be a major problem. Games don't get a chance to shine like they used to be able to, and maybe that's the same effect in music. Music is being flooded every single day to the market, but you kind of got to pick through and figure out which artists you really like. Whereas versus back in the 90s, it would be a certain amount of artists that would come out a year and you could really see the board of what artists came out that year. DMX came out this year. All right, I'm going to cop him. Jay came out this year. Okay, let me get his too. Juvenile, yeah, let me get him too. Get his CD. Wu-Tang, oh man, who's up next? Inspector Deck, all right, I cop that. Ghostface, oh, let me get that too. Raekwon, heck yeah, the Chef, man, let me get that too. It was just so much easier to pick which artists you wanted to go with. And you could really sit with the music back then and listen. And maybe that was just a time in my life. I ain't had to work too much. I was home, had more time on my hands. So maybe my thought process on that may be a little skewed, but I do know that music wasn't flooding the market every single day like it is today. Just like gaming is flooding it every single day. It would just be great to maybe get 2 or 3 big games in a year. Maybe 5. That would be awesome. But I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of it from an old man's perspective. I would love to get you guys' thoughts on this. Is the problem with gaming that there are just too many games? Love to get your opinion. You can definitely be a part of the next listener feedback episode again by emailing the show, and the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast @gmail.com, or call in at 443-380-0281. I was your host, Keon Mitchell, and I want to thank you guys so much for being here. And we will be at it again on Sunday. But until we are there on Sunday covering some very promising Xbox news, Crimson Phoenix, I know you know what I'm talking about, brother. Until we get back to Sunday, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.